Tradition, when disregarded, leads inevitably to fractures. Ultimately, it will be Chang-suk who brings this company to ruin. Despite the potential pain it might cause him, he must speak with the chairman immediately, for the sake of the company and the countless individuals who have devoted their entire lives to it. In an unexpected moment, his phone rings, displaying an unfamiliar number. Upon answering, the caller immediately questions if he supports Chang-suk's decision, suggesting it might be overly severe. Startled, Cheol-jin demands to know the caller's identity and if this is some sort of joke. The caller assures him it is not, revealing no desire to join the board of directors but rather to inform him that Chang-suk and Chang are not as he perceives them to be. Skeptical, Cheol-jin listens as the caller, identified as Hyun-jin, explains that Myung-jin Construction was founded on tradition. In some companies, a directorial position might be offered to anyone, but anyone who understands the chairman's vision and the future trajectory of Myung-jin Construction should not make such promises lightly. Hyun-jin commends Cheol-jin for his pride in being an internal director and urges him to support Chang, insisting he is no longer the same person he once was. This, Hyun-jin insists, should not be seen as a betrayal but as an opportunity to work together for a prosperous future for Myung-jin Construction. A few days later, Cheol-jin confronts Chang, demanding to know who his true backer is. Chang evasively states he cannot disclose that information and asks for Cheol-jin's understanding. Frustrated, Cheol-jin reminds Chang of his early days visiting the construction sites, long before the company's current success. He recalls Chang as a toddler, perhaps 3 or 4 years old, using his little hands to carry bricks and assist with the construction. The sight of him, though not his own child, growing strong and healthy under his father's watchful eye filled him with hope and pride. However, as Chang grew older, Cheol-jin's hopes turned to disappointment. Chang frequently skipped school, sent in place of the chairman, because of his tendency to get into fights. Even as Myung-jin Construction expanded rapidly, Chang was often found drinking, partying, and causing trouble, squandering the opportunities laid before him. This is why Cheol-jin started believing that Chang was not suited for the chairman position. If a family member was destined to inherit the leadership anyway, he thought it would be better if it were Chang-suk, who always strived to gain recognition. But why was he, a mere director, contemplating all this? Because, like his father before him, he had given his all to Myung-jin Construction and could not bear to see it fall into the hands of an incapable man who couldn't even take care of himself. However, he had noticed a change in Chang recently, and it didn't matter who had helped him transform. As long as he delivered results for the company, that was all that mattered. He would not investigate further, but he would state this now: Myung-jin Construction needed people like Chang, and he looked forward to working with him from now on. Meanwhile, in a small restaurant squeezed between a convenience store and a food cafe, Hyunjin's grandmother worked tirelessly to feed her customers, despite their concerns about her overworking herself. She believed it was her duty to work hard to save money for her grandson's tuition. She received a call from someone in real estate, offering to buy her pre-sale rights to the Noblesse apartments, promising a premium of at least 5,000 won if she sold. Later, during dinner, Hyunjin spoke with his grandmother and asked why she continued to work at the restaurant when she didn't need to, given his financial support and her pension. She insisted on working, pointing out that his contributions came from his scholarship, awarded for his academic excellence. She also mentioned being bombarded with calls from real estate agents about the Noblesse apartment winnings, with offers ranging from 5,000 to 6,000 won. Hyunjin reflected on the recent surge in Myung-jin's brand value following a successful concrete casting project and recognized Noblesse as a premier apartment complex in Daesan. Leasing it alone would recoup the sale price, making the agents' offers undervalued. He assured his grandmother that the agents were not acting in her best interest and advised her not to sell. She expressed concern about the down payment of 200 million won, a sum she found overwhelming despite securing the pre-sale rights with his help. Hyunjin knew he had the down payment saved in an account provided by Chang but couldn't reveal this to her. Determined to secure a permanent home for them, he promised her that they could manage the payments and even consider renting out the apartment. Reassuring her, he held her hand and vowed to figure it out. She touched his face, grateful for her dependable grandson. Suddenly, Hyunjin received a call and excused himself to answer it. As Hyunjin answers the call, the voice on the other end identifies themselves as a representative from the academy, informing him that his brother, Hyun, did not attend class today. Instead, Hyun had spent the entire day at the library and was now on his way back, trying to align with the academy's schedule. Observing a group of children nearby playing rock-paper-scissors, Hyun felt a twinge of envy. They were still able to enjoy simple pleasures without the burden of responsibilities. Determined to prove himself and succeed without relying on a private academy, Hyun pushed these thoughts aside. Deep in contemplation, he accidentally bumped into someone. It was his brother, Hyunjin. They found a bench and sat down. Hyunjin mentioned his visit to the academy and how they informed him of Hyun's sudden departure. Hyun apologized for not telling him earlier but insisted he was old enough to handle things himself. He pointed out the strain on their grandmother and their financial difficulties, arguing that if only one of them could pursue education, it should be Hyunjin. With his better grades, it made more sense for Hyun to work while Hyunjin focused on academics. Hyunjin was taken aback by his brother's words. He remembered how, after being comatose for 5 years, Hyun had vowed to become a police officer and avenge the people responsible for his condition. But the burden of hospital bills for both him and their grandmother had forced Hyun to abandon his studies. Despite dedicating himself to studying, Hyun had repeatedly failed the exam. Family obligations had held him back, causing him to struggle and ultimately fall into the same cycle of hardship. To alleviate Hyun's worries, Hyunjin showed him a message about winning an apartment lot in Yonggang, one of Daesun's wealthiest neighborhoods. Hyun was astonished. Just then, Chang arrived in his car. Stepping out, he expressed surprise at finding Hyun in a library. Introducing himself as the eldest son of Myungjin Construction and Hyunjin's strongest supporter, he invited Hyun to verify this information online if he had any doubts. Sitting down between them, Chang explained that since he was already assisting Hyunjin with a scholarship, he intended to cover Hyun's tuition as well. It was the least he could do. Hyun, needing to speak with his teacher, excused himself. Once he was gone, Hyunjin thanked Chang for coming at such a late hour. Chang downplayed the gesture, insisting it was no big deal. He had to look after his best friend, after all. Chang then handed Hyunjin the information he had requested about 3 individuals and informed him that Cheol-jin was now fully on their side. What should their next steps be? Hyunjin explains that they had previously discussed a specific piece of land, Yongwoo real estate in the Sangye area, to be precise. Their first task is to establish a rapport with the local real estate agent there. Hyunjin instructs him to call as soon as a new property becomes available. A few days later, at school, a student with blue hair spreads the news that Hyunjin achieved a perfect score on the 11th mock exam, ranking first nationwide. When Hyunjin arrives at school, he is met with stares and questions from reporters about his grades and the number of private academies he attends. Even Principal Dae-hwan congratulates him, making Hyunjin suspect that the principal orchestrated the attention. Hyunjin steps up to the interview mic, thanking his exceptional teachers for helping him reach this academic milestone. He confirms he didn't attend any private academies and reflects that the Golden Circle's client must be seething with rage, powerless to act. Meanwhile, in a dark alley, the Golden Circle broker confronts Tae-jun, demanding an explanation of the results. Tae-jun reports that Hyunjin and Song-ho are at odds again, and he has managed to isolate Hyunjin, but more time is needed to handle all the variables. The broker, frustrated by the lack of clear progress, warns Tae-jun that this is his last chance to satisfy the client before the holidays. Later, Tae-jun meets with Hyunjin, apologizing for his lateness as he feared being followed by the broker. He shares valuable information, and Hyunjin reflects on his status as a target of the Golden Circle, wondering why they are going to such lengths against him and who might have hired them. He identifies 3 potential clients: Jin Young, a wealthy and academically successful student he might have annoyed; Lee, who fought with him at the semester's start and hasn't spoken since, and has a father with significant influence; and Choi Siona, whose high-ranking government official father might be upset that Hyunjin outperformed her on an exam. Hyunjin used Tae-jun to bait these 3 and, after today's conversation, has narrowed it down to 1. He prepares for the next day, determined to sever ties with the Golden Circle forever. The following day, Chul watches over the boys playing soccer, including Hyunjin, who easily scores before leaving the field. Siona, chatting with a friend, comments on how cool Hyunjin seems. Her friend Haiji warns her to stay away, labeling him a bad boy. Ignoring the warning, Siona approaches Hyunjin and offers him a drink, which he had anticipated. Hyunjin suddenly invites her to talk somewhere private about something important. 15 minutes into the break, Haiji becomes worried when Siona hasn't returned. She then receives a desperate plea for help from Siona, who is trapped in the storeroom. 15 minutes earlier, Siona felt a bit nervous following Hyunjin into such a dark place, but she reassured herself that he was one of the good guys. Hyunjin instructed her to close the door and asked if she knew about the trouble he had been facing recently. She acknowledged, mentioning how people had been picking fights with him constantly. He confirmed this but revealed that most people didn't know someone had orchestrated these attacks. There was a mastermind behind it all. Hyunjin explained that he had set a trap by having Jae-jin, the blue snake, leak information to the people he suspected. He told one person that Hyunjin was having a hard time and was considering transferring. That person showed no sign of happiness, ruling them out. To another person, he mentioned that Hyunjin and Seong-ho were on good terms, which should have infuriated the mastermind, but there was no reaction. Sayona began to back away slowly as Hyunjin continued. He told her that the mastermind would have been angry if they thought Hyunjin was still pushing through despite his difficulties. The truth was, his planted spy had observed one student reacting harshly. Hyunjin asked Sayona what she thought about this. Just then, Haiji arrived and asked if Sayona was okay and where Hyunjin was. Hyunjin, who had been standing behind the door, told Sayona to leave as she had completed her part. As she left, Hyunjin slammed the door shut, trapping Haiji inside. It might seem like Sayona was the mastermind, but Hyunjin had discovered otherwise. Haiji started to panic, asking what was going on. Hyunjin recounted how he had Chang investigate the three suspects, leading him to an unexpected truth about Sayona. He asked Haiji if she knew why Sayona transferred from Seoul to Daesun. Sayona's brother had been bullied and did something terrible to himself. She lost her brother because of bullies, prompting the family to move for her sake. But such a family wouldn't do something drastic for grades alone. Sayona had once said she despised the person who orchestrated the bullying because she couldn't protect her brother. She supported Hyunjin because he was brave. This left only one possibility: Sayona had shared the information with someone else. Hyunjin hugged Haiji tightly, revealing her as the one who tried to ruin his life. Haiji denied it and attempted to escape, but the locked door forced her to beg. She insisted they had always been friends, so why would she do something so hurtful? She claimed Sayona was the one who hired the attackers, complaining about his grades multiple times. Hyunjin reminded her that Sayona's parents resigned from their positions long ago and were not active members of the anti-school violence committee. Could such a family concoct something so vile? Haiji then mentioned her father was a high-ranking police officer, and the Golden Circle had connections with such people. But she realized too late that Hyunjin had never mentioned the Golden Circle during their conversation. Her face contorted with anger as she admitted everything was Hyunjin's fault. If he hadn't been so cold-hearted, none of this would have happened. A few months ago, Haiji had her eyes on Hyunjin, who was tall, attractive, had a great personality, and excelled in sports, the perfect guy in her mind. But many girls had been rejected by him, making her fear rejection despite her popularity. She decided to test the waters by asking for help with homework and touching him accidentally on purpose. Hyunjin's smile made her feel he was interested, so she had a friend ask about his type. When he said he liked hardworking and cheerful girls like her, she thought it was confirmed. She prepared to confess, but for the first time in her privileged life, she faced rejection. Born into a wealthy family, Haiji had never been deprived of anything. This small rejection caused her immense anguish, turning her hostile. Hyunjin laughed at her explanation, but Haiji erupted in an emotional frenzy. She screamed that he was the one dropping hints, making her life hell as he grew more popular and successful while she felt left out and saddened. She never intended for things to spiral out of control.